They missed my graduation to watch the Super Bowl. Then they stole my identity, opened credit cards in my name, and called me selfish when I said enough. But I didn't break. I built a new life one boundary at a time. If you've ever been the family ATM, the fixer, the forgotten achiever, this story is for you. My name is Lauren Elizabeth Summers, and I used to believe sacrifice was the highest form of love. On the day that should have been the pinnacle of my journey paved with sleepless nights, vending machine dinners, and years of silence, I stood alone in a sea of celebration. The Southern New Hampshire University Auditorium was a galaxy of black caps and proud smiles. Bouquets waved like flags of victory. Cameras flashed as parents and siblings surged forward to capture their graduates' moment, except mine. 3 seats in the 4th row sat mockingly empty, reserved, but untouched. I tried not to look. Tried not to count how many times I'd imagined their faces smiling back at me. My phone vibrated in my lap. I didn't want to check it, but my thumb moved automatically. Mom, sorry, honey, you know how Uncle Mike gets about Super Bowl Sunday. Been hosting for 20 years. We'll celebrate next weekend. Axo. My thumb hovered over the screen. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The silence between us was louder than any words I could have typed. I thought of the double shifts I'd worked at the insurance office, the community college credits I scraped together one painful semester at a time, the Toyota Corolla I sold to cover tuition, the nights I studied while they blasted music for their weekly game nights downstairs. When the dean called my name, Lauren Elizabeth Summers, Bachelor of Business Administration, summa cum laude, I stood with the rest of my row. My legs felt leaden, my sensible heels, the only pair I owned and bought at Goodwill, clicked rhythmically against the hardwood floor. A hollow, echoing beat. The dean smiled warmly as she handed me the diploma. I smiled back, lips trembling under the weight of years. The paper in my hand felt heavier than it should have. It carried the weight of abandonment, sacrifice, and betrayal. As I returned to my seat, I saw again those empty chairs. So many promises made, so many excuses offered in their place. They weren't there when I graduated from community college either. That time, it was car trouble, they said, but Facebook showed them grinning in party photos. My mom's 7-layer dip proudly displayed beside my brother Jack's Super Bowl ticket. It was never about not being able to come. It was about choosing not to. Another buzz. Dad, we'll catch the next one. Next one. Like I was planning to do this again just for them to ignore it a second time. As the ceremony ended, families flooded the aisles. Laughter, hugs, and tears painted the air, but I stood alone, the winter wind sneaking through the cracks of the auditorium. Finding my bones and settling deep, I stepped outside, diploma clutched like a lifeline. My fingers fumbled to call home. Ringing. Then, "Oh Lauren, how was it, sweetie?" Mom's voice bubbled with forced cheer. Behind her, the unmistakable hum of sports commentary filled the background. My voice cracked. "How do you think it was, Mom?" I walked across that stage alone. "Don't be dramatic. No, it's tradition. Uncle Mike's party is important. I spent 6 years earning this degree. It's just a piece of paper. Show it to us next weekend." Dad's voice chimed in. "We'll catch the next one." Click. I stood in that parking lot, watching snowflakes settle on my shoulders. Something inside me broke in that moment. Not snapped, broke, like a chain finally rusted through. They never saw me. They only saw what I could do for them. Reliable Lauren, the family ATM, the daughter who would work herself to exhaustion and then apologize for not doing more. I scrolled to the airline app. One-way ticket, Colorado, Vail Mountain Lodge spa package. My screen blinked with the confirmation email as I slipped into my car. The wind outside howling like the ghosts of all the missed birthdays and ignored achievements. I packed that night in silence. One suitcase, my laptop, my diploma. 1 week later, I lay on a massage table, warm stones gliding along my spine. 6 years of tension unraveled with every point of contact. The lavender-scented air wrapped around me like a blanket. I'd never been allowed to have my phone buzzed beside me for the 13th time in 2 hours. "Would you like me to put that in airplane mode for you?" the masseuse asked. "No." My voice shook. "I need to know. Because peace is fragile. Because when you've been betrayed by those who were supposed to love you most, every silence feels like the eye of a storm." Another text, this one from Tara, my cousin. "Tara, check Facebook. You need to back in my suite, wrapped in a plush robe." I opened the app. The first photo hit like a sucker punch. Mom's infamous dip, arranged perfectly. Uncle Mike's living room full of laughter and Chiefs jerseys. The same moment I walked across the stage. Next came Jack's post. Put $5,000 on the Chiefs. Sometimes you gotta treat yourself. I felt sick. My brother, who begged for rent money last. Your money I gave was now gambling my trust away. Tara's next message blinked. Check your credit report. Fingers trembling. I logged into Credit Karma. Multiple inquiries. Chase, Amex, 3 store cards. All opened within the past month. Mom single quotes. Voicemail. We just need $500 for groceries. Times are tight. Dad's. Just a cosigner thing. You don't even need to do anything. Jack's SIS. Don't tell Mom and Dad, but I need some cash. Just until payday. The truth seared like fire. They weren't just using me, they were stealing from me. I confronted Mom. Her voice quivered. Family helps family. My laugh was bitter. Like helping yourselves to my identity. To my credit. Silence. I blocked their numbers. Tara called. I spoke to my cousin, Sarah. She's a lawyer. You need to file a police report. I can't do that to them, I said. They already did this to you, Lauren. A knock at my door. The spa concierge stepped in, quiet and kind. Miss Summers. We've upgraded you to our Mountain View suite. No charge. I blinked. Why? She smiled sadly. You're not the first one I've seen make this kind of call. She handed me tissues. The suite has a better lock system. And a private entrance. My phone buzzed. Another credit alert. A Macy's card. I called Tara. I'm ready. Give me Sarah's number. The storm had come, but I wasn't running anymore. That night, I started the paperwork. I collected every document, every text, every lie. Years of gaslighting, minimized pain, and manipulated loyalty, all neatly organized into folders. When they showed up banging on my apartment door days later, I didn't answer. I called the police. I called my landlord. I called my lawyer, and for the first time in my life, I called the shots. My phone vibrated again, the screen lighting up with another blocked call. I didn't need to look to know it. Was her my mother? I stared at it until the vibration stopped. The silence afterward was louder somehow. Tara drove me to the airport that morning. We hugged tightly at security. Show them what you're made of, boss lady, she whispered. I boarded my flight to Portland with only what fit into one suitcase, my laptop, my degree, a pair of modest heels, and the shredded remains of what I once called family. 6 hours later, I stood in a new apartment with floor-to ceiling windows that overlooked a city sparkling like it held secrets just waiting for me to uncover them. The moving truck would arrive tomorrow. Tonight, I had an air mattress, one warm blanket, and peace. I opened my laptop and reread the intake form from Dr. Richardson, my new therapist. Her specialty, financial abuse and family trauma. Her email had helped me set boundaries before I even touched Oregon soil. Boundary number 1. No contact with any family member who participated in financial exploitation. Boundary number 2. No money lending without formal agreements. Boundary number 3. No tolerating guilt trips. Boundary number 4. No sacrificing peace for someone else's comfort. The notification pinged up. Group text from my new team. Welcome dinner tomorrow night. We're your Portland family now. Family. The word used to make my chest tighten. Now, it floated in the air like something lighter, kinder, chosen, not inherited, built on respect instead of obligation. I pulled my diploma from the suitcase and held it up against the empty wall where my desk would go. Tomorrow, it would hang framed above my chair, not hidden in a drawer, not questioned or mocked. My credentials wouldn't be up for debate anymore. My ambition wasn't a betrayal, it was the foundation of everything I'd built on my own. I was Lauren Elizabeth Summers' daughter, survivor, and now department manager for a major West Coast financial firm. But freedom, I'd learned, wasn't the ending, it was the beginning. 6 months passed in the blink of a spreadsheet. I thrived. My team grew. Promotions came not from favoritism, but merit. I chaired workshops on fiscal literacy and launched an internal mentorship program for young women in finance. I even started seeing a glimmer of something like happiness in the mirror. Then it happened. Security guard John Martinez tapped my elbow, gently, one evening, as I adjusted my lapel mic backstage at the Pacific Northwest Business Leaders Conference. Miss Summers, he said quietly. Your family is in the lobby. My heart seized. Not again. 300 professionals filled the ballroom, waiting for my keynote on financial independence. My hands trembled as I adjusted the emerald brooch on my blazer, the one I bought after my last promotion. A promise to myself. I earned this. They won't get past the doors, John assured me. But they did. Dad burst in just as I reached the podium, his suit hanging loose, eyes wild. Jack trailed behind, phone raised, recording. Mom stumbled dramatically, clutching her chest. That's our daughter, Dad bellowed. She abandoned us. Left us to rot while she got rich. I gripped the podium. 300 heads turned. Murmurs. Cameras. My mother's voice cracked the air like bad theater. Our Lauren, she's breaking her poor mother's heart. I steadied myself. Security, I said into the microphone, calm as glass. Please remove these people. They are in violation of a court order. Jack stepped forward. We'll sue you for abandonment. For elder abuse. Tell them how you left Mom to suffer. I couldn't help it, a laugh bubbled up. Mom's 58. Jack. And those Instagram posts from her tennis tournament last week suggest she's suffering just fine. Laughter rippled through the audience. Mom's hand dropped from her chest. Dad lunged. Security intercepted. Flashbulbs popped. Ladies and gentlemen, I continued. You're witnessing exactly why I advocate for financial independence. Sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones you need protection from. As they were dragged out, I pivoted. Let's change today's topic. Let's talk about when love becomes a weapon. For the next hour, I told my story. The graduation betrayal. The identity theft. The gaslighting. The forged credit. The manipulation dressed as affection. Faces leaned in, breath held. When I finished, they rose. Applause thundered. Margaret Chen, from Penguin Random House, approached me backstage. We need this story, she said, pressing a business card into my hand. Full manuscript. 6 months. But the curtain hadn't dropped yet. In the lobby, Dad's new attorney squirmed. Perhaps we could discuss a settlement, he offered. I opened my briefcase. Perhaps we should discuss the credit cards opened in my name. The wire fraud. The forged loan applications. Color drained from his face as I laid out 6 years of evidence, reports, signatures, statements, lies. I'll need to consult with my clients. No need, a new voice interrupted. Detective Sandra Morris stepped forward, warrant in hand. Robert and Jack Summers, you are under arrest for identity theft and wire fraud. Cuffs clicked. My mother collapsed onto a bench. Lauren, she whispered, please, we can still be a family. I stared at her. The lines, the lies. We stopped being a family the day you chose Super Bowl Sunday over my graduation. The courtroom air felt thick, like every unspoken truth I had carried for years was pressing down on me from the rafters. Rows of onlookers murmured, quietly behind me, their whispers like static in my ears. I sat beside Sarah, my lawyer, not the cousin. Sarah Delgado was precise, cool-tempered. The kind of woman who scared opposing counsel into submission with nothing but a raised eyebrow. The judge entered. All rise. The trial lasted for days. On the surface, it was about credit fraud, wire transfers, and forged signatures. But beneath the paperwork was something far messier. Betrayal wrapped in parenthood, manipulation disguised as love. The evidence spoke louder than any emotion. My voice didn't shake once, even as my mother wept on the stand, delivering an Oscar-worthy monologue about raising a daughter who was always too ambitious for her own good. Sarah Delgado stood, holding the thick binder of evidence in one hand like a shield. Your Honor, she said, ambition isn't a crime, but theft is. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When the verdict came, I didn't flinch. Guilty. Jack was sentenced to 2 years of supervised probation with mandated financial counseling. My father, 3 years in federal prison. He looked at me once as the cuffs clicked into place. For a moment, I thought I saw something like regret. Then it passed. Outside, Portland's spring sky was draped in silver-gray clouds. My phone buzzed. From Tara. You did it. I'm so proud I could scream in the street right now. Another text followed. From Uncle Mike. I sold the house. I'm donating part of the proceeds to your scholarship fund. I smiled. That night, I hosted dinner at my apartment. Tara, Sarah Delgado, a few members from the Survivors Network, and Amanda from my Portland office. We filled the dining table with takeout and laughter. My mother once said real family always sat together for dinner. She just forgot to mention they shouldn't steal from you afterward. I lifted my wine glass. 2 boundaries, I said, and to people who choose you. The following week, I was invited to speak at a summit on economic empowerment for women. TED Talks sent an inquiry. Margaret from Penguin Random House emailed again, reminding me gently about the manuscript. Wrote every night after work 500 words here, 1,000 there. I told the whole story. Nothing omitted. I wrote the graduation scene in painful detail. I wrote about the voicemail from mom asking for grocery money. I wrote about the spa, the stone massage, the moment I chose myself for the first time in years. By summer, the book was complete. We titled it, Boundaries, When Love Becomes a Weapon. It sold 20,000 copies in the first month, with every interview and podcast. I received more letters from readers. One woman wrote, I left my parents' house with just my purse and your book. I didn't know anyone else understood. Another, I thought I was crazy for keeping receipts. You showed me I was smart. In October, we hosted the first Survivors Gala. I stood under the twinkling lights of the ballroom at the Portland Art Museum, welcoming donors, advocates, and most importantly survivors who had escaped similar prisons of guilt and obligation. My mentee Sarah, now 2 years free from her own family's manipulation, took the stage beside me. You gave me back my voice, she said. I shook my head. You had it all along. That night, Tara pulled me aside near the dessert table. Did you see who's here? She asked. I turned and froze. Uncle Mike stood near the bar, speaking with a man I recognized as the director of a major financial education nonprofit. His wife had come to. I hadn't seen them in years, not since the fallout. He raised his glass when he spotted me and nodded. Closure comes in strange ways, Tara whispered. I nodded, but the story wasn't over yet. A week after the gala, I received a certified letter from my mother. Not a lawsuit, not a demand. A letter. It read, Lauren, you won. You got what you wanted. I hope you're happy. I never thought you'd turn on us like this, but clearly you've made your choice. We're still your family whether you like it or not. I hope someday you come back to your senses. Mom, I stared at the words. Not an ounce of accountability. No apology. Just another attempt to frame my survival as betrayal. I folded the letter and tucked it into the file labeled Emotional Manipulation, Final. I didn't need her to understand anymore. I had already set myself free. 6 months had passed since the verdict, and I had breathed more deeply in those days than in the 6 years prior. Portland's cherry blossoms returned, soft petals painting the streets in quiet defiance of everything I once believed was permanent shame. Obligation, silence. I was no longer just a survivor. I was a leader, an advocate, a beacon. The Survivors Network expanded into a national nonprofit. My book had been translated into 8 languages. Schools invited me to speak. Lawmakers consulted with me on legislation about financial abuse and guardianship reform. One bill, Lauren's Law, passed unanimously in Oregon. It made me cry in the parking lot. Tears of victory this time. My office grew too. A penthouse suite downtown with exposed brick, art from survivor artists, and a view that reminded me, daily, of how far I'd come. Tara worked beside me as Director of Community Affairs. Sarah Delgado became our official legal partner, and every Friday, we held open office hours for anyone who needed help escaping their own version of the hell I'd lived. One Friday, a knock at the door pulled me from paperwork. You have a walk-in, my assistant said. She says it's urgent. A young woman entered, 19, pale. Her hoodie swallowed her frame. She held a manila envelope like it was radioactive. I'm Casey, she said. My mom used my name to open 7 credit cards. I didn't know who else to call. I gestured to the seat across from me. You found the right place. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Not fear this time, but recognition, like it. She'd just spotted a lighthouse through a hurricane. That night, I met Mark for dinner at the rooftop restaurant where he'd first told me he loved me. We toasted with sparkling cider. He didn't drink, and I didn't need to anymore. You've helped hundreds of people, Lauren, he said. But I hope you never forget you helped yourself first. That's where the magic started. The next morning brought another reminder of that magic. A letter from Uncle Mike. Inside was a check made out to the Lauren Summers Foundation for $100,000. His note read, I never saw it, never realized what your parents were doing. I was part of the machine that buried you. I'm sorry. Let me help dig others out. Later that month, I received the Portland Women of Influence Award. The ceremony was small but meaningful. Tara spoke on my behalf. Lauren doesn't just build ladders, she said. She climbs up, reaches down, and pulls the next person up with both hands. When it was my turn to speak, I stood before the audience with my first diploma in one hand and my latest main application for a business scholarship in the other. We talk about resilience like it's a gift, I said. But it's a skill, a muscle. Something we build one painful repetition at a time. I didn't get here because I'm strong. I got here because I finally stopped letting people call my silence love. The applause wasn't just polite, it was personal. Survivors filled the room. People who had clawed their way out of invisible prisons. People like me. Later, alone in my office, I hung that award on the wall, next to the photo of my second graduation, the one where every seat was filled. I checked my phone. A new message from Casey: just got approved for my first apartment. Numbered, cosigner needed. Thank you, I smiled. Typed back, you did that. I just reminded you that you could. That evening, I looked out at the skyline. Portland blinked with possibility. Mark sat reading on the couch. Tara was texting about a new mentee. Sarah had just won a case for another survivor. The life I'd built was no longer a dream, it was a home. I picked up my journal. The same one I started on the day I walked away from my family. I wrote, healing isn't a finish line. It's a doorway. Every time we walk through, we leave it open for the next person. Then I added 4 more words, the same ones I once texted to a scared girl named Sarah. You were always possible.